G'day HexedHavoc here, and in this video we're going to be looking at my top 10 commons, or at least the ones I like the most. We're also going to be looking at my honorable mentions as well. So yeah, let's get right into it. We're going to be looking at the top 10 commons first. Alright, so the first one's pretty self-explanatory. It's just a 3-2 for 2 with a very easy to trigger one-shot effect there, which gives it flight. So it turns it into a 3-2 flyer for 2. So yeah, pretty damn good, and you know, shouldn't have any problems triggering that pretty quickly, even potentially the next turn. So yeah, pretty good. Up next, we've got one of the better ones. This is one of the really good commons. If you're in Wild Diamond, this guy is just, it's a beast. I mean, look, it's a beast right there. So yeah, it's a, on the turn it's played, if you're, playing it out on defense, you can, have a 4/4 Skyguard troop that can defend and kill a lot of different things. You could also obviously do it while you're attacking and use this as a +2/+2 buff. So yeah, gives it a lot of flexibility, but yeah, just a really solid troop. And then even then, you've got a Skyguard defender for 2/2 once that buff goes away. So yeah, just really solid. Up next, we've got another wild card. This one is the Symeon Sycamore. And this one wasn't on my radar at first, but then I was like, you know what, that's actually, it's not hard to trigger Rowdy. In this case, say in a limited environment, if you get this down on 3, you're going to probably trigger this at least 2 times. So 8 health, that's quite a lot. And you're getting a solid defender at the same time. And then if you, obviously, any more triggers after that, is, just, yeah, 4 health every time. Add up very quickly. So, yeah, pretty solid. Up next, we've got the Cloudpeak Hermit. Now, I'm not really a huge fan of just 3/2 flyers, but the fact that this can target any troop that any troop, even opposing troops, if you for some reason wanted to give something flight, yeah, you can target another one of your troops, like something with maybe a on-hit effect on hitting champions. Just makes it a lot more flexible. So not bad. 3/2 flyer is okay by itself, but yeah, being able to target anything else makes this quite good. Up next, we've got the Blightbark Courier, which is just a 2/2 flyer for 3. So that's perfectly fine. Happy to run those type of cards, but yeah, the extra life is what makes this better. Does mean that your opponent's going to want to void it or minus its health. Otherwise, it coming back into play and potentially trading with something else is going to be annoying. So yeah, just decent. Up next, we've got the Glimmer Fox. Glimmer Fox. It's pretty solid. It's gives just a 1/1 for 2. You could compare this to the Wild's Minari Sensei, which is now a core common in Doombringer. So in this case, it's not giving you the next card in your deck, which is technically better. Well, they're different, right? I mean, they're giving advantages in different ways. This one obviously fits very nicely, especially if you're trying to do a tricolor deck. You can pick whatever shard you're needing. Sadly, you're not thinning your deck. But yeah, being able to create, in this case, a standard resource of your choice is very valuable, especially in a set that's focused on prismatic. So yeah, very good card. So yeah, there's also this alternate art, which is pretty awesome. All these little foxes everywhere, and yeah, this guy's pretty ripped. So yeah, he had to admit he was outfoxed. Oh, there you go. Flare him. So yeah, 1 cost 2/2 is obviously good. You can put in a lot of potential damage if you get that out in turn 1. And the downside for this card is really not much of a downside, honestly. If you eventually trade it with another 2/2 or a 3/2 or something, you're only going to take that 1 damage. So if it puts in, say, 4 damage before that happens, well, you've done 4 for 1, basically. So, really solid. Just, and it's even still a decent late-game top deck, as it might still be able to trade with, like I said, a 4/2, a 3/2, anything with 2 health, obviously. So yeah, just pretty solid. Noxious Turn, here's a very good trick for you. So this yeah, pretty damn good. For 2 cost, you do obviously have to be in Blood and Ruby, but yeah, giving your troop +4 damage, life drain, and swift strike for the turn is pretty damn good. Can allow even your weakest of troops potentially battle a giant. And yeah, getting then life drain on top of that can really help swing games. So yeah, very nice trick there if you're in those colors. Up next, we've got Feral Formulation. Now this one, I'm normally not a fan of these type of cards where you have to, discard, and then yeah, in this case you're discarding 2, at random, so it's not something you really want to do while you're still, you know, if you got just a shard in hand, then you're probably going to be fine with doing this. If you know, played a shard for the turn, you've got a shard left, yeah, just do it. You're going to then get 3 cards. So that's great, but it is a card that you ideally want to run in a deck with lots of low-cost cards. You know, empty your hand fast and then replenish it with the Feral Formulation here, because the discard happens first. So that's, you know, makes it good. So yeah, pretty damn sweet. And then we've got the Treacherous Search here for Sapphire. Yeah, the later into the game you go, the better this will get, because you'll be able to pay more for the X and search further in your deck too. You know, so in Limited, for example, say you've drafted a bomb or two. You know, if you have this and you play it, say for 5, you know, you're increasing your odds of getting that bomb or bombs, which obviously can, you know, bombs change games. They can win the game. They can bring it back for you. Yeah, so this is good, being able to search. Obviously, you will have to invest all 5 resources to search for 5, but you know, it's quick speed, so you can do it at the end of your opponent's turn. If you've you know, leaving up removal or other quick speed shenanigans. So yeah, the more quick stuff you have, the better. But even if you play it early, you're still going to be able to look, you know, like, it's basically, if you want to compare to, say, Arcane Focus, quick speed, you can pay 2 to look at 2, whereas Arcane Focus is basic speed to look at 2 cards for 1 cost. So, you know, it's in some cases Arcane Focus is better, but obviously, yeah, the later into the game, this is generally going to be the better one to have. So yeah, pretty good common. I think that's it for the top 10. I think that's all 10 of them. Let's have a look. Yep, now we're moving on to the honorable mentions. So, I mean, some of these, you know, could have easily been in the top 10. it's you have to pick at the end of the day. So I just went with what I like. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily the best ones that you just saw, but they're the ones I like. So, for example, Daybloom, I really like that. In terms of Limited, I'm not sure actually how many deploy, you know, effects there are. You know, especially in just Diamond alone, like that's where you want to look first. If there's enough of them, well then obviously the value of this, especially if you draft or you open a lot in a sealed, then yeah, the value of something like that can increase. But yeah, so I really like that trick, the Daybloom, but it does depend on that factor. Scouring Ruinant is not bad. I mean, it has a deploy effect, speaking of deploy effects, but you know, it's decent. Obviously, if you don't have many troops in hand, it's, you know, not that great. But if you have, you know, a bunch of flyers in your deck and you happen to have them in your hand, you get this guy down on 2. Even just buffing like a couple of flyers that you have is decent, but yeah, not all that crash hot. It's decent. Alright, so next up we have the Grapes of Wrath and Crypt Bitter. So these are both. So obviously Grapes of Wrath is a card. If you get down turn 1, that's what you want. That's the ideal scenario. Turn 2, probably still fine. But the later into the game, the worse this gets. You know, it's a bad top deck. Crypt Bitter is just fine. You know, decent effect there. Sorry, I just knocked my microphone. So Crypt Bitter, yep, it's fine. And there's an alternate art there for the Grapes of Wrath. Looks pretty cool. So then we've got Court of Souls. Now I do like this card, but it, you know, it requires a certain deck type. You want to have a deck that can go wide very easily. So you know, if we just look at the previous meta with all the Deathcry, you know, Bloodwild, Deathcry decks can obviously go wide very easily. Might not be, you know, probably it's not really going to be as easy anymore. You don't have the champion to do Deathcry, make 2 1/1s and things like that. No more Blight Bushes and all that sort of good stuff. But this potential's still there, and you know, can gain a lot of health, can buff a lot of troops potentially, but might not quite be enough anymore. So False Confessions, you just interrupt with deal some damage to an opposing champion is not bad if you're in Sapphire Ruby. Then we've got Healthy Tips. So sadly, it's, you know, can't really compete with something like Pomegranate, but it's still decent. It's not, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest, just because it's not ramping, but it does give you Shard Insurance that then has Fate Weave, and if you're in Diamond, you get some health as well, so still not bad, and certain decks will want that type of card. Up next we've got Sucker Punch, which is a Sapphire Wild, and yeah, it just allows you to battle. So it's a bit more expensive compared to previous battle cards, but it gives flight. Now, and that can be good in a lot of situations, especially, you know, with some battle cards in the past. If you're battling with your best troop, you might then not be able to attack because it's been injured too much, and then you would be doing a bad trade if you attacked. Whereas giving the evasion now means you've buffed up your best troop or your biggest guy, and then you can potentially guarantee that damage into the face. So that's rather nice. It does cost 4, so that's why it's, you know, just an honorable mention. It's not bad. But yeah, obviously better when you've got on hit effects on hitting a champion and stuff like that as well. But yeah, let's see what's next. We've got Boon Bunch, which is another rowdy card. This one gets a random boon, so it's fine. You know, 2/2 for 2 is perfectly fine. And you know, you play a 3-drop, play a 4-drop, you can get some random boons on there, so you could get some interesting stuff. I mean, obviously you'd want to get like Flight. Maybe then you want to try to get like Rage and Life Gain and all that sort of. You can dream, right? But it's fine. It's perfectly fine. And then we have a really nice trick here, which is the Flayer Steel. So really, really cheap. Only 1 cost. It only does work on attacking though, but it is a +3/+3 for 1. So it's pretty damn good. Pretty nice. If you're in a very aggressive deck, you could put that in with the what was it, Feral Formulation card. You know, get a bunch of aggressive dudes out. Have your trick here, just doing in a bunch of aggro, and then fill your hand back up, well, 3 more cards with the Formulation. So yeah, pretty nice. Up next we've got From the Wreckage, which is basically a Bloodwild Call the Grave, in which sometimes, probably very rarely, you'll be able to get a resource as well. Now, obviously, the more you can utilize this with discard, discard a shard, get that back later, with various, you know, there's quite a lot of discard now in Doombringer that you might be doing yourself, that forces you to discard. A lot of discard your opponent might be doing against you. In this case, you know, you can get rid of a shard, maybe a troop dies, then you can get those both back. So it is actually quite good in that regard. But more often than not, you're probably just going to get a troop back, which is still fine. Then we have the Howling Rebel, which is a Ruby Wild 3/2 for 2, which is good. Has Crush as well, and you're going to also get a temporary resource when it deals damage to a champion, which is not always going to be relevant, but yeah, sometimes it will be decent. So yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Yep, so that's my top 10 commons there, plus some honorable mentions. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments your favorite common or commons, and yeah, thanks for watching, and take care.